This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast.
Welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast, where we help women remove the overwhelm of living their most holistic life. This is the place to find evidence-based nutrition tactics, healthy lifestyle and wellness tips, abundance mindset, and easily implementable low-tox living strategies so you can rise up to your full potential and protect your family's health. I'm your host, Stacey Heine, certified holistic nutritionist and better living advocate. Now, let's get empowered with some simple swaps that make a big impact for optimal wellness. All right, welcome back to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. Today's guest, you're going to love. This is Dr. Samuel Mielcarski, and he is also known as the Health Razor. I met Dr. Sam at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and he is just one of those amazing human beings that when you come into contact with him and when you're in his ecosystem, you're like, oh, he is an absolute healer. And I have been following Dr. Sam before I even met him, and I was really excited to see that he was there. Not surprisingly so, because he is in this lifestyle. He lives a raw vegan lifestyle, and he is just healing people left and right. And it's an amazing thing to see. We talk about holistic living and Dr. Sam's approach to lifestyle wellness and how he treats his clients. And let me tell you a little bit more about him. Dr. Sam is a clinician on a mission aimed to help resolve the issues in your tissues. With over 25 years of experience as a holistic therapist, speaker, author, coach, and visionary, Dr. Sam will help you rise up and take your health to the next level. Dr. Sam has proven that when it comes to achieving better health, there really is a quick fix, and that is that it is safe, affordable, and easy to follow. He has takeaways that create everlasting wellness transformation. The simple advice and solutions that he offers will often become irreversible knowledge. Dr. Sam will inspire you to raise your health and teach you to value it as well. Samuel's helpful guidance could not only change your life, it may even help save it. And he really is just a bright, shining light. You're going to love this episode. And this episode actually started off with Dr. Sam sitting on his deck as the sun was rising over the trees that were tropical fruit plants, even though he's not living in a tropical area. He's actually in Georgia, but you'll get the details in the episode. But before I roll the episode out, I want to be sure that you know it is absolutely time to stock up on clean beauty right now. It is the Black Friday deal with Beauty Counter. You can get 20% off site-wide, plus free shipping on $50 orders. Or if you spend $250, you're gonna get 30% off your entire order. So this is a really big deal, the biggest deal of the entire year. And this is your opportunity to reduce your environmental toxins via the stuff that you're putting on your skin, like the body products, your shampoo, your cosmetics, your skincare, and also support a B corporation that is putting equal emphasis on people, product, and planet, and trying their very best to reduce their carbon footprint and use glass versus plastic, etc. So now is the time. Get in on the Black Friday deal. It only lasts through November of 2022. So stock up and save. The link to shop is down in my bio or in the show notes here. And here is Dr. Sam. Enjoy. Dr. Sam Mielcarski, welcome to the Urban Pharmacy Podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to it from the time that we talked about possibly doing it.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that we met. We met at the Woodstock Fruit Festival. Just, I don't even know, was that last month? Yeah, it was just last month. So super excited that I finally got to meet you. I've seen you within like the raw food world for a while now. I was first kind of like opened up to just like macrobiotic eating and like raw food, probably like 15 years ago. And really started following like Growing Your Greens, that YouTube channel, your friend, that John Kohler. So yeah, just I've seen you around, and I got to finally meet you, and your presence was pretty much exactly what I expected. It was super calm. Not to make you feel like you have to be calm all the time, but I felt like that was who you were going to be. Like you knew exactly kind of who you are. And I feel like you're walking around as a human being with a very strong sense of purpose. And we can talk all about that today. But before I kind of ask you your story, Dr. Sam, I want to just address your background. This will be going on to my YouTube channel, which I just started, but also for those of you who are listening to this podcast, Sam is sitting on a wooden patio, and he's got some cool kind of tropical looking trees in the background, and the sun is about to poke through. It's early autumn where he is down in Georgia. So tell me about what you have growing in the background.
Sure. Behind me is all these wonderful trees that I actually planted, and that looks like an arboretum. Around me is actually banana trees, and I do get bananas. They are small, squatty things, and they are somewhat edible. They're a little bit starchy, so I'm still trying to figure out how I can possibly get them to grow a little bit bigger and sweeter. But even if the fruit is not totally edible off the tree, the fruits of my labor are still appreciated, because this is like a little oasis back here. And the beautiful thing is to actually see the result of the seeds you plant, so to speak, of even consciousness, the vision I had for my backyard. And when I walk out of my deck, here's what I get to see. And that's overgrown right there is actually my garden space too. So it's about 400 square feet of garden space just right there. And then the trees around me, beside the banana trees, there is a persimmon tree back there. There's pineapple guava trees. There are fig trees. There are pawpaw trees. And so it is basically kind of living in a little tropical paradise, so to speak. And some of the fruits are definitely edible. The figs this year were phenomenal, and they came in right before Woodstock, which was great, because I'm thinking, wow, if these come in when I'm gone, I guess the birds are going to enjoy them. But I got to get figs every day for about 3 weeks straight. I mean, a bowl like this big every day. And there's, as you know, there's nothing like fresh fruit right off a tree. It's literally like being in the Garden of Eden.
It is incredible. There's nothing like it. And like, I know some people might think that this sounds weird, but I don't really care. Listen, there's an energetic vibration to the food that you're eating. And the closer to home that you can get it, the better it is. So that's, of course, why we sell our produce at the farmer's market. Like there's just a whole like shift that happens when you actually connect with your food, and then take it up a notch like Dr. Sam is. And by the way, I need to talk to you about persimmons and pawpaws, because I am literally at the moment collecting the seeds as I eat these beautiful fruits here in Indiana. That's like as tropical as we get here. I don't know if figs do well here. I need to look into that, but this year is the year of me going to my friends who planted their trees 7 years ago and collecting the seeds. And I will, in 7 years, hopefully have an amazing orchard of sorts. Well, I mean, we have our apples and our pears and our cherries, and, it wouldn't be just be an orchard. It will be as tropical as we will get here in Indiana. And I will have all of the things. And I love how long ago did you start these banana trees?
It's probably been 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. Fabulous. Wow. And okay, let's now kind of just segue. I got really excited. You mentioned pawpaws and persimmons, and I'm like, yes. Okay. We're on the same literal wavelength at this moment. It's great. All right. So Dr. Sam, can you give me kind of your story? Like, have you always lived a healthy, holistic life like you are now? Where did it start, and why are you doing what you do? Like living in your purpose?
I think it did start from the beginning. It started in utero. It started in the womb. And the reason I say that, my parents actually were health and science majors in college. They went to Ithaca College in upstate New York, and they were in the health and science field. And so when I was born, actually, I was born with twisted hips. I was born with something called anteverted hips, which is where your femurs rotate inward. So I was very pigeon-toed, and so they put a brace on me very, very young. And I have a picture there. My mother's holding me like this in her arms, and she's got the 70s bell bottom pants on her.
Yeah.
She looks like a hippie for sure. So that's probably where I get some of the hippiness. But
I love it.
she is holding me on the porch, and my brother's standing next to me. I think it's an Easter picture, but it looks like I'm wearing a little skateboard on my feet. And that brace was to help correct my crooked hips.
Mhm.
And so basically, I realized that at that time, when I looked at the picture, wow, this started at the beginning. And I said to my mother, well, how did I crawl around? She said, well, you really just army crawled everywhere because you didn't have that cross crawl pattern. So I was like, well, how did I get out of the crib? She said, well, you didn't in the beginning. And she's like, because you couldn't climb out of it. She goes, but I always knew when you were up because you would pick up your legs and you'd slam them down on the crib. You're such a determined little kid that you would just move the crib all around the room, no matter where you wanted to go. And she said, as soon as you did that, we knew your father and I were like, oh, Sammy's up. And because you would just start banging your legs. And so she told me that story. I was like, wow, I was born a little health raiser.
Wow.
And that's where I kind of got this whole insight of like, wow, I was born into this lifestyle. So when you said I live a life of purpose, for sure, I know this is what I came here to do. And I live it each day. And that's how I got started. And then growing up, I had my fair share of injuries as an athlete. So I went through the rehabilitation process myself. And then I watched my brother go through it. And even my grandmother, they all went to physical therapy for various things. And then it was really when it really hit me. I got out of school. I went to physical therapy school and graduated with a degree in physical therapy. I got out and I competed in a Mr. Atlanta bodybuilding competition back in 1998. And back then I wasn't as conscious and awake. And so a lot of the lifestyle was just working out really hardcore and then eating a diet very high and a lot of animal protein. And when I think back, it was kind of almost scary because I remember getting this bag of chicken from this big box store, and it said in 10% solution. I mean, I don't even know what that is at this point. Was that like formaldehyde? I mean, I don't know what the stuff was even preserved in, but all I know is I was eating this stuff. And then suffice to say, long story short, I ended up looking pretty well on stage. But when I came out of the, even though, I did well, when I came out I wasn't looking good on the inside. And that was evident in the weeks to follow because my health just did this downward spiral really quickly. And I ended up with some significant health challenges, which were, my prostate got swollen so bad that I woke up one day and I had to go to the bathroom. So I ran to the bathroom and I went to urinate and nothing came out, not a drop. And yet I felt like I was going like big time. And I'm thinking to myself, where is that going right now? If it's not coming out of me, it's going somewhere, like back up with my kidneys or something. So it was a very, very scary feeling at the time. And I remember thinking, wow, I better go get some help. So I went to a doctor and they were saying to me, the guy looked at me and he said, oh, well, you're too young. I wouldn't worry about it. And I remember looking at him and saying, hey, doc, I didn't say I can't see right. I said I can't pee right. And he just kind of looked at me. And so we talked a little bit and he's like, well, we're not really sure what causes this and here, but I want you to take this antibiotic. And I was like, well, why would I take it if we don't even know the cause? And so I took the paper from him and I never filled his prescription. And so I remember going home and I was like, well, this isn't a good enough answer. So I went and sought out another opinion from another so-called specialist. And he says, well, you're awfully young for these issues. And I'm like, what is up with these guys telling me I'm too young to have issues? Obviously I do. So, and then when I went home that day, I was really distraught because he literally said to me, well, what kind of test do you want me to run? And I'm thinking to myself, if I have to tell you, I'm in the wrong office. I mean, I shouldn't be having to tell you what kind of test you need to run. Help me figure out what's wrong with me. So I went home and I was very distraught. And I remember just sitting down on my bed and the tears just started to kind of roll. And I was just so frustrated. And I remember just saying the words out loud, God, just please save me. And so then I heard the voice. As people say, you hear the voice. I actually heard the voice. It's literal divine intervention. And what I heard was, what difference does it make what it is if it's not going to make a difference how you treat it? And I thought to myself, whoa, what? And I heard it again. What difference does it make what it is if it's not going to make a difference how you treat it? So I asked, well, what does that mean? And I heard it means you're going to have to change your diet, your mindset, and your lifestyle. And if you do that, you'll know health at a level you never knew possible. And also, here's just as important, you will always, once you get to this place, you will always promise to give back, or the lessons are going to get harder. Do we have an understanding? And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, like we're clear. So
Whoa.
guardian angels or voice of God directly, but that's how it started. And so every day I wake up, including this morning, my eyes open. I always say it's a good day. I say 10 things I'm grateful for. And then I say the words, I know, I promised, I'm getting up now. And so I get out of bed, and that's how I start my days.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Let's break it down farther. That was incredible. First off, the voice that you heard was super clear, and that is incredibly powerful and super inspiring. Another thing that is incredibly inspiring, Dr. Sam, is that you said that you wake up and not just say 3 things, which I've taught my clients to do, but you say 10 things that you're thankful for. Why not just take it to 10, right? Because there's so many things to be thankful for. And the more gratitude that we can have, the better humans I believe we become. So all so powerful. Now, you heard this voice. It said that you needed to change your lifestyle, your mindset, and your what?
My diet.
And your diet. Okay. Yes. All right. So let's address that. What did you do to help your prostate? Was it dietary?
Sure. So a couple of things. One, you made the list this morning. So I was just lying there. I said, I'm grateful that
thank you.
Stacey Heine is going to interview me this morning, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share with her and her audience. So thank you very much.
That means a lot.
Yeah. And here's the other part of the story that I didn't mention, a little bit more detailed. So beside my prostate, I ended up with like a swollen mass in my left groin region, which was palpable. And and then I had all these bumps across my bladder as well. So I'm thinking to myself, wow. And that was the thing where I was getting concerned. Well, what if this is cancer, or I have tumors or fibroids? And so again, the rest of the voice was like, that's just a label. I mean, if you want to live inside labels, you can, but you got to understand, as soon as you do that, you invite a lot of consciousness in your life that is going to, be living in fear, or living in a state of mind where they're going to try to convince you that, hey, you shouldn't do that. You need to just go this route. And that's crazy, just to listen to this inner voice. And you don't know how bad this could be. So there's a lot of challenges there. I mean, it's the bumps and the lumps, and then the downward spiral into like total social withdrawal, and even being depressed and just completely apathetic. So yeah, beside the prostate, there's some other things stacked on there. So it was basically a very low moment, but that's how you hopefully rise up. So to come back to your question of what I did, it was that's how I kind of got into being a bit more holistic, and even when I graduated, I already had this mindset of going down that path, but this was a total blessing because I helped me do that. So I basically ended up going raw, so to speak. And the reason I say that is my path went from into vegetarianism, and then veganism, then into raw foods. And but beside the raw food, the other raw materials, as I like to call them, to rebuild my health. And so bodybuilding became bodily building, because I realized I had to rebuild myself from the inside out, my mind, my body, and my spirit. So the raw materials are very straightforward things that I have come to embrace. And I always say nature gave us these things. And this is something that I always say, well, nature invented it, but I packaged it. And there's a system that I teach to all my clients called a chain of health system. And the system contains 8 essential links. And those links are the following things: food, air, water, light, rest, activity, hygiene, and loving relationships with yourself, others, and the planet. So those are what I call the essential 8. And this is the things that I was guided to do when I said, you'll be shown the way. I realized these are the 8 factors, and these are not the optional 8. They're the essential 8 because they're essential needs of health and of life. The only thing that's optional is following it. Like, we do have free will. We don't have to do it. But those things are so essential that if we don't do them and still expect to be healthy, there's a bit of delusion there, because these are the requisites of life and of health, and no other species tries to do without those things. And if they did, they would realize they would suffer. Or if we did that to an animal, like if it was a pet, we deprived it of one of those 8 things, and then the pet was acting funny, we would say, we were torturing the thing. How do you expect it to behave? But when we do it to ourselves, sometimes we don't realize the consequences until we really see things clearly as they are. So those are things I ended up changing for sure.
Wow. Okay. I love all of this. We're going to talk about your book too here, but how did you hear about the raw food eating? Where did you hear about that? And
sure.
Why was that just like an intuitive, like, I mean, I did the same thing when, I think I probably heard about raw food first before I went like plant-based, and it took me about a year, like I went through an evolution. But yeah, how did that all kind of manifest? And when was that? That was like
1998.
Yeah, 1998.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it was a while ago. And so what happened was, my brother, who I was living with at the time, we were staying together here in Georgia. He was the one helping me train for the bodybuilding competition. He actually was going back to school for chiropractic school, and he said, "Hey, bro, for what it's worth," he goes, "I have this teacher who is really into this philosophy, this concept called natural hygiene, which is in essence living in harmony with nature. It's a science of living in harmony with nature." He talks about how animals have their native diet and they have their native eco niche, and they just live by kind of these natural rules and laws. And so here's the thing, I mean, he does consultation with people, and he's not big in adjusting. He's not a traditional chiropractor. He's not going to adjust your spine. He's going to talk to you about your diet, lifestyle, and just things that you maybe can do to help improve on that. So I went to see this guy. He ran some tests, some lab tests, because he had qualified people to draw blood and do other samples of various body fluids and stuff. And he said, "Yeah, here's what I'm going to recommend that you consider doing." And so raw food was a big part of his philosophy, and he was way into it. So that's where I kind of got started with it. And then fortunately, once I started on the path of learning about that, I started to look in my local community and actually found a raw food support group. And so I go to the meeting, and I just introduced myself, and I said, "Look, I'm new to all this, but I'm open." Mm-hmm. So it's found that little treasure right in my backyard, so to speak, in terms of finding a support group. So that, as you know, really helps to have support around you and to feel like you're on the right path. And so I just kept checking in with spirit, like, is this the right path for me? And everyone I met, it seemed to be always that it was. And that's how I just kept checking in, like, okay, this feels right. I just kept feeling my way into it. This feels right. This feels intuitively the right thing to do. And that's how the raw food journey started.
Wow. Okay. So it sounded like the doctor, your brother said, he's not going to adjust your spine. He's going to adjust, your diet, lifestyle. But I think a fun, like, mantra or saying for that is like, he didn't adjust my spine. He adjusted my mind.
Oh, I like that.
So I think that when it comes to, and I was listening to a past interview that you've done, and you were talking about the power of awareness, and like, it's just, dropping in and becoming your best self is so much more than it's so multifaceted, which is why you have the Essential 8. And I think it's incredibly important to kind of just be aware of that, and to know that everything isn't going to happen overnight. But if you become aware of what is going on and you just kind of stop for a minute, you can absolutely step into your ideal existence. And it's just a really powerful thing. And you're literally like a living and breathing example of it. And it's so inspiring. You know me by now. I really like to lean in on natural medicine and herbal immune support, which is why my family and I love to use Organic Green Growers elderberry syrup. Elderberry is an immune modulating herb, and one which can be rated super high on the ORAC value, which measures antioxidant capacity. The pre-made elderberry syrup and DIY elderberry syrup kits are blended with anti-inflammatory plants that upgrade the holistic elderberry experience. Visit greengrowers.farm/shop and use code HOLISTIC to enjoy a 20% discount and free shipping today. Thanks to Green Growers Farm for sponsoring this episode. Back to the show. So with your dietary change, let's just stick with that for right now. How did things manifest with your issues, urinating, etc.? Did everything dissolve?
Yeah. So basically, as I started to switch my diet, I definitely started feeling better pretty quickly, actually, because again, I wasn't eating as you know, I'm sure you teach your clients, it's not just what you eat, it's what you don't eat. That's just as important. So right when you stop eating things that were causing pain, inflammation, and I could even say, yeah, pain and inflammation in my body, I started to feel better for sure. And the more of it that I ate, in terms of clean food, the better I kept feeling. So that definitely helped, but I knew that wasn't the whole piece, because guidance kept telling me, like, you're going to be shown the way. So I figured, well, it can't just be just diet, because that is a bit of a myopic approach. And sometimes, again, people get too hyper focused on one aspect of health, and that's okay if it's a kind of, again, that key area that needs to be addressed, but you don't want to let go of the other stuff, because health is a comprehensive thing, as you just alluded to. So you have to, continue to look at the other stuff. But yeah, for sure, I started to notice changes with my diet pretty quickly in terms of how I felt. So I knew I was on the right path.
And okay, so this probably falls within your, you said loving relationships. I teach a pillar called success environment. It's one of the 5 pillars that I believe embody holistic living. And it has a lot of things that can go within that, like, your physical environment, but then also your social environment. And you were talking about this raw food support group that you found. I found one too, that you totally brought like a flashback memory. I actually went to a few like raw food meetings with a local group here. And I was like all angry because they were using raw coconut oil in like so many things. And I was like, no, why are you guys doing this? Like, I was on a different level. It was kind of different, but it was still really nice to know that there was like so many people that were desiring to live a different way. And they're right there, in my backyard. They're local to me. So how important, and along your healing journey and your story, how has your environment changed in terms of your social situation? Like, do you believe that, and did you change your social situation when you kind of started down this path, listening to spirit and really dropping in, what I like to call dropping into, like, into your purpose?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is things that changed about my social life, people that I hung out with, and the places I went. I'll never forget, because in 1998, that same year, I was looking forward to feeling better, so I could actually just kind of go out again and socialize and even party a little bit. So I remember being at a bar, restaurant type of place, and I even remember the name of it and where I was. And it was one of these 2-story things where on the rooftop you could go and have a drink. So I was drinking beer with a couple friends, and I remember the taste of it just stopped tasting good to me, and I just didn't feel good. It was just upsetting my stomach, and I set it down. I'm like, okay, I'm done. And my friend said, "Oh, great, you're done. I'm going up. I'll grab you another one." I said, "No, I'm done." And he said, "Oh, you're done. Great. Well, you can drive us home tonight then if you stop drinking now, and in that way you can be designated driver." I said, "No, I'm done. I'm not drinking anymore." And he was like, "Yeah, right." And I said, "Okay." So I haven't touched alcohol since, and
Wow.
yeah, so that change happened. And then there's certain people that kind of just dropped away a little bit, because again, their influence on me was not going to be a positive one. And even I could deal with a so-called peer pressure, social pressure. It's just more of a matter of, it wasn't enjoyable to hang out with them anymore.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to stop doing this, because this isn't in the direction that I'm moving. And so yeah, the social situation definitely changed, and it is that law of vibratory attraction, where when I was carrying a different energy about me, the people that I wanted to kind of started drawing in my life just started to show up, and I started to meet other people, and then realized, wow, there is a bigger community around here than I thought, about people that are into healthy lifestyle, including vegan, vegetarian, and raw food people. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that definitely changed, and now it's interesting because, as you know, you kind of do this evolution, and then what I call the evolution revolution, you go full circle. Now I can hang out with just about anybody. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I have some limits. Like if someone's sitting there smoking right in front of me, I'm not going to stand
Yeah,
there
no.
in that environment because it's very toxic, and I don't do well with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if someone is not totally vegan, or I don't just say, well, I'm not going to hang out with you. It's
Right.
because we have lessons to learn from people, and God works through people in different ways. And so you could be missing one of the greatest opportunities ever that's just standing right in front of you, but you don't even realize it because you're closed off to that person because you think like you already have had opinion about them. And I'm actually going to cover this today. I have a newsletter going out later today, and it talks about the difference between judge judging versus judgment, and there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And people say you shouldn't judge, and I say, really? Because I get paid to do that all day long. If I don't judge how somebody's walking, how can I help them get better? So no, we're supposed to judge, but being judgmental is a totally different thing. So yeah, that's it's going to be a good part of the newsletter going out later today. But anyway, yeah, that's the social thing, full circle, revolution, where now I can hang out with just about anybody, within reason. Again, as long as I'm not doing anything that I find like even offensive to the standpoint. And I think sometimes people don't look at it this way, but if somebody were to take a swing at you, and they did hit you, of course you'd be offended, but you'd also possibly injured. And you say, well, that's just wrong. Like, why would you want to be in that environment? But if somebody does it chemically with cigarette smoke or something else, we don't look at it that way. But that is an insult. That's an assault and an
Right.
insult, both. And so it's
Right.
like, I don't care to do that. And part of which you had mentioned about the link of love. Yeah, one of the biggest keys to the love link is self-love. And I always try to point this out. Like in every chain, there's usually a master link. And so in the chain of health, the master link would be love, because if you don't love yourself enough, you won't do the other seven. So that's kind of where
Totally.
things have to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that worthiness factor. I believe truly, at least for the majority of women that I have served so far, is that we, including myself, don't hold enough love for ourselves. And we have this block of we aren't worthy, that we are not worthy of creating the life of our dreams, or that we aren't worthy of rising up to our maximum potential, or we aren't worthy of living in alignment with our ideal existence. And I really truly believe it's just that we don't love ourselves enough. And I think you're right, like literally nothing else can manifest in this holistic health journey if we are not doing that first, prioritizing ourselves, making sure that, and whatever that might be. Like for me, I teach people, just put your legs up the wall for like 2 minutes every morning. That's where you start, literally. That's it. That's something that small, but like you're reminding yourself, hey, I am worth it. Right. And that's that self-love component. And I think that there's so many things that probably go within that self-love aspect that is super, super powerful. Another thing that you said that's incredibly powerful, wow, like is that, and just very specifically because you were mentioning, like, just because somebody might not be vegan or vegetarian, like it does not mean that you can't be, right? Like you can't associate yourself with them or socialize with them or have them in your life, etc. And I have so many friends who do not eat the way that I eat. And you're very right. I have learned so many things, but something that recently happened was that I had a guest in my society, and it was a man, and he does breath work, and he's very good at it and very gifted. And after the session, I was incredibly open to having a conversation with him, just fully and honestly. And he asked me what came up. And I had a very like vulnerable state. And I was just like, let me tell you what came up. And what came up was the fact that he promotes eating animals. He's very much in the holistic realm. And like, I respect him in so many ways. But we just had this great conversation after it. And it was so like respectful. Both of us were just exchanging such respect for each other. And I was just explaining to him how I didn't understand it and stuff like that. And he was so receptive, and it was just beautiful. And he's just such a gift in my life. And I think that's really important for us, especially in this time, Sam. Like, in this world, we're very divided, and we need to focus a lot more on love. So that was really, really powerful. And I'm glad that you brought that point up, that we don't have to agree on everything, because we could be missing out on so many lessons. So sure. That's incredible. Okay. Geez, I feel like you have so many lessons that I could learn from you. We will have to have you back on the podcast. But all right, since we've been talking about food today, I want to talk a little bit more about it. Are you living raw now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been fully raw for a long time, right?
Yeah. I always like to say, like, I've been 100% raw, like 99 point something percent of the time. You know, I ran a few experiments along the way, and just to see and what would happen. And I got to be honest, like with some of the experiments, tried, bits of cooked food and stuff. I really didn't feel bad. I know some people say, "Oh, I felt terrible." And then you ask them what they ate, though, and then they tell you it's usually things that are laden with salt and oil and all that.
Yeah.
Well, no wonder why you felt bad. I mean, I just tried. I had some steamed veggies or things like sweet potatoes, or I feel absolutely fine. But I was like, I want to know, for a couple of reasons, like, could I thrive on that food? What if I need to thrive on that food? And am I missing something by not having that food? So the experiments were worth running, and I got to say, I felt fine. And I did it, I think, for a long enough period of time. And so it's an experiment that I think was worth running. But my preference now, continues to be raw food, because, like I say, if you want to feel whole, natural, and alive, it makes sense to eat whole, natural, and living foods. Right? And also, if there's not going to be life in your food, then why have food in your life? It's another expression.
I love that.
It's this raw foods bring about a lot of vitality. All these natural foods have these signatures to them, which is a doublet word, which means sign of nature. It's so literally these signature patterns, these energies, even consciousness. I think food is beyond just nourishment. It is information. And so the more pure that we can get this information, it's literally taking divine downloads every day from source and ingesting them, so that we have this programming that's going on, that's programming ourselves with lots of beautiful information, especially light. Light is a very underrated nutrient. We could talk for hours about that, and maybe we can a little bit more. But when you think about raw foods, they're literally like a spectrum, and they are like those fractals of full spectrum light, right? So you break it down in different frequencies, each thing having a different physiological, psychological, even biopsychosocial effect on the body, mind, spirit, and it's really important. So my preference is raw food for sure, and to just it's very simple in many ways, and very rewarding.
Can you tell me about the simplicity? Can you tell me what a day in the life looks like right now? Because I'm sure it's been such a different, like you say, like you're doing experiments like consistently, like how, what makes you feel the best? Do you eat differently since you're in Georgia? Are you eating differently with the seasons? Are you trying to source, as local as possible? Like, how does it look? What does the food situation look like at Dr. Sam's place?
Sure. I mean, like I said, I grow some of my own food, so I do eat from my land, and then I try to buy from local farmers as well. There's some local farmers markets, even right here in my hometown, that are like on Thursdays or Saturday mornings. And so I met some of the local growers. I talked to them about their practices, and then also just kind of get to know them energetically. And so I got some good relationships with them, and I definitely do try to eat seasonally, and I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, in nature, again, providing this information with, here's what you're going to need to thrive during the season. If you eat out of season, you're almost working against the divine plan and nature's plan. And that's why I think some people struggle on all diets, but even in the raw food lifestyle, because they're continuing to try to eat foods out of season that are not going to be necessarily nourishing them the best and providing all the nourishment that they need. But yeah, sometimes I'm just eating like twice a day very often, and those meals definitely contain a lot of fruit and veggies. But I do like my nuts and seeds and other things, sprouted foods, and I do think that living foods are just as important as the raw food. So I like things like sprouted lentils or mung beans, or even soaking sprouting nuts and seeds. And I'm a big fan of that because I think of the classes of foods, you're going to have like fruits and veggies and nuts and seeds and sprouts, legumes and tubers and herbs and grasses and grains and wild edibles. I think they're all important.
Yeah.
It's a full-on spectrum plant-based diet that is not just very limited. I think the more we limit ourselves, you are limiting your possibilities of actually being healthy, and it's vitally important to get a wide spectrum of foods. So I eat. Basically, I let the foods choose me. I mean, I always shop, and I always say I'm always a couple steps ahead. So I will buy a bunch of stuff during the week or toward the end of the week, and then go into the weekends already stocked up. Like last Thursday, I went and stocked up on a bunch of stuff. That way, in the weekend, I'm not stressed about trying to get food or find it. I already have it. One of the fun experiences over the weekend was I really wanted to make juice, but I really wanted to be outside. And so I just closed my eyes, and Spirit's like, all right, well, go get your juicer, man, and bring it out here. So I came out on the deck and I put my juicer out on the glass table, and I lined up stuff, a bunch of pineapples and celery and cucumbers and cilantro and parsley, and just started juicing things. And it's amazing because now I feel like you have all the other elements going into your juice. There's the sun, there's the air, there's the essence of earth, the ether. I mean, everything. It's like all the elements at once. And the food's almost returning back home, right where it came from. Like now you're outside. The food's in its natural environment. I'm in my natural environment. And so it was a great experience. It just was a whole different kind of juicing experience. I'm like, wow, I'm gonna have to do this more often. Just juice outside.
Oh my God, sounds.
It was fun. It's huge. Yeah. I found these gallon mason jars. So the mason jar's a gallon. It's so awesome because then I made that much. So I got done. I went and stuck it in the fridge. I had a couple quarts yesterday, and I plan to drink off it during the week, and then I'll make another batch. And it's nice. And beside that, so you have those whole natural foods there, and sometimes I'll have whole turmeric or ginger juice with it. But if I don't, I may add some of I know you're big into herbs, and I'll add some things in. So I have turmeric ground powder or ginger powder. It's organic stuff.
Yeah.
And I like to add that, or things like spirulina or barley grass juice powder, or something like that. Vitally important to get that spectrum of nutrients. So that's how I like to do stuff, and it just intuitively, okay, what am I feeling? And I like to eat in sequence. I know people like to do mono meals. I do polymeals.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe in polymeals. And so polymeals are eating in sequential order, which I like to do. So I start with very juicy things, even liquid type stuff first, and then I just move to more concentrated food. So I'm usually ending my meals with most dense concentrated food, like nuts or seeds or something heavier like avocado. And it's funny because people, even at Woodstock in several years, people will see my bowl and are like, you can't eat that together, and blah, blah. They get all militant, and I'm like, well, I could do whatever I want. And but I said, well, I don't plan to eat it together. I said, I'm going to eat it all, but it's going to be in a sequence, and I'm probably actually not going to eat it all even right now. And I said, so I know what you're thinking. Well, what a waste. It's not a waste. I actually have a refrigerator in my room. I've been doing this festival for 11 years straight. I kind of got it down to a science.
Yeah.
So I took the bowl back to my room very often, and that allowed me to always have what I know that I wanted even later. So I remember one time, a very limited time to eat at lunch, and I connected with Philip, and he was about to go teach, something with either handstands or athletics or something that he was doing. And I said, oh, not much time. He goes, yeah, I know. And so I said, well, this will be dinner. And sure enough, so later on, we had met back up on the lawn, him and I was like, well, here's lunch, that's dinner. And he's laughing. He's like, wow, you did save it. And I said, oh yeah, I wasn't kidding. And had all the mamey sapote in there, some figs. And the strategy there was like, I knew it wasn't going to be available later because they don't serve everything the same all day long. So So it's like always planning and always thinking ahead. It's vitally important. So that's the other part of eating. But
Yeah.
definitely getting the spectrum of foods, lots of fruits and vegetables, like I said, and then all that other stuff stacked on it. But done in a sequence and done with love. And the other thing is just the other thing when you said kind of describe what a day looks like for me, actually eating in silence. I mean, out here on the deck is one of my favorite places to eat because it's not total silence, but no podcast, no music, nobody talking to me. I just want to sit and be present with my food. And that's a tough thing to do, believe it or not, for a lot of people, including myself for a while, because I'm like, yeah, but I'm missing out. I'm missing out. I really want to hear that podcast. Well, then listen to the podcast. Like, if you really want to do that, then do that. But don't try to do both, because your nervous system only has so much capacity, and it's like your vagus nerve. As you know, it's this very important part of the parasympathetic nervous system that's like rest and digest. You cannot be absorbing information from, like, your ears taking in all that information from the podcast, and you're trying to digest your food. It isn't going to happen. That's why most of the time you miss out on the essence of a meal when you do that. You're eating, and you're like listening. You're like, oh, that's such a good point. You're taking notes, and then you get done. You're like, oh, wow, the food's gone. Like, you almost miss the experience. And I've noticed that if I just eat with total mindfulness, like, I always know when to stop. I don't overeat. I don't regret what I've eaten. If something's not quite right, I'm like, oh, this isn't really calling to me. I put it aside to go get something else. But when you're distracted, that it's really hard to do that. And I think part of living in a kind of raw lifestyle is really taking things to a raw level where you're like, I just want to be present, with anything you do in your life, but definitely with eating, for sure. I think it's a vitally important thing. It's nourishment on all levels, like body, mind, and spirit.
Totally. And speaking of mind, body, and spirit, here's the last question that I have for you, because I ask every guest this. What does holistic living mean to you?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I have an acronym for love that it's actually, I think it's a blog post that I did on my website, but I saw it the other day when I reread it. I was like, yeah, that's great. So holistic living, the love formula, LOVE, it stands for a lot of things. Like, one, it's your level of vital energy. So that's the whole piece about, like, living in a space of love. But love stands for this. It says live, fully and openly. Okay, is the L. And then the O is own your choices and be accountable. The V is vow to take excellent care for yourself. And the E is to evolve and keep growing. So that's what a holistic life means to me. It's that love formula. Because if you want a whole life, you have to live holistically.
Yeah.
And it's really important to come from it from that standpoint, with a kind of a multifaceted approach. But for sure, holistic living and spirituality to me go hand in hand. And here's what I had said at Woodstock, and I've said this in years past, and even to private clients. To me, spirituality is nothing more than taking full ownership for what you create in your life from moment to moment. So all the practices that we have, be it qigong or yoga or breath work or sound work or journaling or art or whatever else people do as a spiritual practice, is hopefully going to turn you into that person, right? It's not an escape. Your spiritual practice should not be an escape. Like, if you want to travel to ethers, that's all well and good, but the whole point of going there is to get the divine downloads you need to bring them back to the earth plane, so that you can be of service to other people. And I really honestly believe a very simple lifestyle, a simple life philosophy, is that there's two reasons to be here: to have fun and to be of loving service to others. And so, to live a holistic lifestyle is simply that. And the spiritual practices really should just evolve that aspect, those two aspects. Like, one, it should be fun, and two, it should allow you to be of loving service. And so when we quote astral travel, we go out there to the ethers, hopefully it's to get these divine downloads to come back into ourselves and, like, wow, what a great idea. I can't wait to bring that into fruition. And the word manifest actually means to create. The direct derivation is almost to create with your hands, to manifest. And so, when we do that, it's an amazing thing to bring those gifts to the to the back to the earth plane, so we can share with people. So that's what holistic living is to me.
Wow. I need to look more into that acronym, that love acronym. And I want to teach that and tag you. That's amazing. Okay. Dr. Sam, how do we stay in touch with you? And you have a book.
Yep.
Tell us where we can get that. Feel Good Now.
Sure. Yeah. So my main website is drsampt.com. That's DRSAMPT, like physical therapist. So drsampt.com. That is my main website. I have a couple free gifts on that site. People want to go and join my main mailing list. You'll get a free copy of my song called the Health Raiser Song, which is that's like a lyrical kind of expression of my journey. And the lyrics of that song are very powerful. It's kind of a hip hop rap song, feel good song. And even if you don't like that music, trust me, you'll like this song because it's very clean. There's no sexual innuendos. There's nothing. There's no bad language. It's very straightforward. And I actually wrote all the lyrics to that song. I'm very proud of that. And because that was a divine download as well. And then I had it produced, and that's a story for another day. And that was an amazing journey. But yeah, the book is called Feel Good Now, and it looks like this. So if you want to grab it, you can get it off Amazon. It's available there. And then I got another one coming real soon that is going to be the next edition of this one that I might have mentioned to you at Woodstock. This is being rewritten right now. It's being proofread, and I'm excited. It's an actual, basically, it's going to be a guide to health, healing, and total well-being, and basically a comprehensive approach to feeling better and healing faster. And
wow.
It's awesome. It's got natural laws of healing, principles of rehabilitation, and then a whole Q&A section, and then some tools and resources that help people just optimize that. So I'm really excited about that, and some other big projects coming too. So, but that's how to stay in touch, and I hope to definitely connect with some of your audience and be able to.
For sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I think that we can definitely work together in the future. I'm super excited. I am just so excited that we met, and I'm really thankful for your time today. And I really, really just honor and respect you so much. So thank you so much for doing what you do, Dr. Sam. You're incredible. And thank you.
Thanks a lot, Stacey. Yeah, much love. It looks like we're both heading to physical therapy now.
Yes, right. You're going to probably treat for sure. Yep. And I'm going to go get treated. My shoulder fixed. So
yeah, awesome.
Thank you. Be well. Take care.
You too. Much love.
I'm over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of The Urban Pharmacy. For today's show notes, head on over to theurbanpharmacy.com and be sure to join us inside our private Facebook group called The Urban Pharmacy, where we share inspiration, live trainings, and holistic living tips to help you build community and the healthy lifestyle that you've always wanted. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button and please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Before we connect again on the next show, follow me on Instagram at The Urban Pharmacy. That's urban with an H and pharmacy with an F. And I can't wait to hear your wellness journey as we get to know each other better. You know, there's truly no better time than now to level up your life, and I am so proud of you for showing up today. Until next time, be well, Health Crusader.